Hello and welcome everyone. This is basically going to be our first class. Yeah, قدامي class نايفتكون. ስለዚህ ከም መላለይ ኾነና ንቁርብ ድማ like ሳክንት እንታይ ብዛዕባ ናይ cloud computing ቅድሚ ሕጂ ፍልጠት ነይርና test መግበሪ ንእሽተይ game ብሓንሳብ ክንፃወት ኢና እሞ if you can all go to kahoot.it and enter this pin and you will be presented with 5 questions. You can skip the first question. تقريبا تعرف ان الله حمش تحتات حنسب كنا نملسن. Let me know if you have if you run into any issues. نزوم حجي زاتهم راح كدق معي ناب kahoot.it كدنا ذا بين زي أنا توامو حمش تحتات الله زين حمش تحتات كن ملسن فتن زين حتات based on the last class نبرتنا اب حلف سوني ثم شعوب زي مثلا كتاتو زي كالكم صقم يبلون تنحتات قرب طرح general idea بزعبا ناي cloud computing نزاربامو نفتنن and we'll go from there بحنساب كينا discuss نغورينا نتا answers. Okay guys, so that was enough حمش تدلينا حسيبنا نيرنا. I think we can now discuss the answers together. I'll just bring up my screen and we can go over the answers. Apologize if this isn't the best way to show the answers, but this will do it. So the very first question was, what is cloud computing? About cloud computing, AWS and cloud companies cloud computing أبغى general خنزاربل نحدلنا نت data center أبو دلو services on demand كلينا خلو أبتجزين عنا زلينا كنتي بتعقم نحن عقم دلينا كنكاريو هنكل نسيو the service. So data center services delivered via internet on demand. Standard answer. So majority answered it. So there shouldn't be issues on that one. زيادة ون أبزي لوم discuss نقبره زيادة خن مهارينا. تخاليت حتى النبرة which region does US East 1 represent? US East 1 كنا بالكلنا Northern Virginia. US East 2 كنا بالكلنا Ohio. US West 1 كنا بالكلنا Northern California. US West 2 كنا بالكلنا that's Oregon. سلزي أون دوزحو أنسى جيرما سلزي that's good. ريما how many AWS regions are in the US? In the US 4 regions in the law and so I see also like the highest number now correctly answer giromallo. What is AWS IAM used for? Yeah, the correct answer is all of the above. IAM مالت كم identity access management نيتها full form. سلزي نحري نتحنت account توسختي users create نقبر دلينا create نقبر نخل users نتوم users دما استفعل عليها عينة permissions كنوبهم نخل and مسوخة نحري groups اللي يمنا خوينو like for example developers كلونا خلو إن HR كلونا خل إن accountants كلونا خل نتوم users أبينا group كنتوهم كم ندلي أب IAM كنا هنا like allocate نقولهم groups مالتي. So the answer is all of the above. How many availability zones are in US East 1? Availability zones مالت أبتغط غازخونا data centers in. Then data centers كا شديش تلوا مالت أبزي Northern Virginia. زيادة أبي كم زخونا دما حد discuss نقورينا. So خابو حليفنا. So these are our instructors. I'll let them introduce themselves. We'll start with BK.
Cool. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi, my name is BK. I guess the real name is Barakat Arai. And I've been working as data scientist currently right now for about a year. Before that, I was working on database related and some full stack development projects. قال أنت أخبرني لي يا كم حجاب تنزل نبرة كلاس أتيكم تفضلونكم. We've met before and obviously this is going to be our third session. And we are excited to have you guys, and I'll be happy to be one of the instructors. Thank you, guys.
I guess, Ermias, you can go next.
Hi guys, Shamay Hermes Bahal. I work as a cybersecurity analyst. I've been working as a cybersecurity analyst for almost a year now. So,
okay, thank you. أنا أتوشم يبال. I work as a software engineer, and I've been working for the past close to 3 years now. And I'm excited to be part of the class. And welcome to the class. In this class, we will be having additional like instructors as we go. So hopefully we can all learn together. So when we discuss a little bit about cloud computing, ندحري تماريسنا بزعبة cloud computing مست traditional computing بنتاي فعلالي بزعبينا مجمرتا discuss نقبل. I'll try to explain this in English and then maybe translate it in Tigrigna after. When we talk about cloud computing, we have to compare it with traditional computing and how what the advantages are of moving to the cloud. You probably have heard of like a lot of cloud migrations in recent times. The main objective of this whole cloud computing is traditionally when companies want to deploy any application, maybe a web application and maybe a mobile app, that mobile app or web application needs to live in a server. The server is how customers can connect and use that application, because the application is not deployed in your local, in your laptop. If it's in your laptop, no one else will be able to access it. As an example, we can say, when I say web application, let's talk about Facebook, for example. Facebook has like millions of users. All those users, to be able to access their account, that Facebook application needs to be available 24/7, because some people might be up, at certain hours of the day, and the rest of the world might be up in different hours of the day. To ensure that that application is up 24/7, we need to deploy it in a server, and we need to make sure that that server has internet connection. Now, what these big companies would do is they would buy that server, hire someone to take care of the management and all the configuration that's required to keep it alive. And that's costly. And not to mention, if that server for whatever reason stops working, they need to go and procure another server. And that may take some time. It's definitely going to take more than a day, because once you get the server, you need to know how to connect it. You need some expert to come and modify whatever needs to be modified based on your needs. What cloud computing does is, instead of you buying the server, the entire server, and taking care of managing it, instead you would rent it as a service from AWS or from the other cloud vendors. There are other companies too. It's not just Amazon Web Services. Now, you pay as you go, and you pay for whatever you use. Instead of buying the entire server, you just rent however much you need to use, and that's the only cost you incur, just however much you need. So instead of going out and buying an entire server and only using 1/3 of that server, you only buy that 1/3 that is required to get your application running. So the amount is a fraction of the total amount you would be paying for an entire server. The second thing is, if you were to go buy a server, you need to have a place where you want to keep the server. So you need to rent a space, or you need to own the space. And most of the times it's going to cost you a lot, because that space is not just an empty space. It will require conditioning and making sure that there is enough like the internet connection is running smoothly in that area. All of that is additional cost. With cloud computing, you are basically delegating that job to these cloud vendors like AWS, like Google Cloud Platform, or like Microsoft Azure. These companies will take care of making sure you have internet, making sure that if any network outage happens, they have a backup, like they have backup generators and everything that's required to get that server running 24/7. Now, the third thing is, if you, like we mentioned earlier, if you buy a server right now, you need some expert to come and manage, the configuration, make sure that everything is connected correctly. When you go with cloud computing, you're basically delegating that job to AWS, or they have their own experts. They will make sure everything runs smoothly. So you don't have to hire someone. So that means you don't have to pay more. So you're saving on also the amount that you usually pay an expert. The fourth most important aspect here is the data security. As you all know, when you have sensitive data running in your server, you need an expert. You need the expertise that are required to ensure that the data is secure. With these cloud vendors, because of the amount of investment that is put into these servers, because it's not just your application, many other big companies are also renting, those same racks where you're using the servers you're using. They have to make sure there is the highest security, and they will take care of securing your data. Of course, there's a shared responsibility. You need to ensure you don't do anything that will jeopardize your data, but on their end, they will make sure that everything is connected in a way that ensures highest security. Moving on, the other part that is very important as well is, we said if you wanted to get the server, it takes a few days. And if it takes a few days, that's kind of a disadvantage. If you want to experiment, if you want to you have an idea and you want to try it out, you're not fully sure if it will work or not. You don't want to go and buy an entire server just to test your code. And if your code doesn't work, you'll have to, no one is going to return the server. So you're going to have to sell it or do something. So it really discourages experimentation. Whereas with cloud computing, all you need to do is you contact these cloud vendors, and within minutes, you have a server up and running. All you have to do is take your code, put it in the server, and it's going to run. You can test it. If it works perfectly fine, then you're good. If not, you can just terminate it, and you only pay for the amount of time you used that server. No additional cost. So that encourages experimentation. A lot of this idea of cloud computing really saved a lot of the startups. A lot of times when you have a startup, you don't know ahead of time if your idea is going to work. Unlike, the big companies where the big companies can hire as many people because they have multiple ideas they're running on. So if one idea doesn't work, they can still use that server for something else. Whereas for startups, they just need to use it to test their ideas. And if everything works, then they can add, then they can scale out basically. And that's one big advantage. And a lot of big names like Dropbox and I believe others that, small startups that began all on cloud. The next thing we also should consider is when you have software you want to update, it goes back to the point of, you need to have the experience to be able to update it without, disrupting your service. If there's some software that needs to be updated for Facebook to run, you need to make sure that what you just updated doesn't disrupt what you already had earlier. You don't want to update the software and half of your customers can't use your app now. Whereas with these servers, there's almost seamless automatic software updates. Sometimes you don't even know that they're updating it. You'll just be notified, and you can choose the time like when you want your servers, because the servers will be down, but you get to choose when they can update the software. So you have that flexibility. The next item is sharing data across the world is easy. Because this cloud servers are accessible across, across whatever region you're on via the internet. If you have a team based in India and you have a team based in somewhere in Africa and you have a team based here in the West, you could easily collaborate and work together, and that you can share data without worrying about connection or worrying about how far you're from the server. AWS will take care of that. They will make sure that the data is run, as and packages are being sent back and forth in the fastest manner for you, rather than you having just one server based in here in the United States and everybody trying to connect to it. They will make sure that they spread the servers across the world, make sure that the servers are closest, that the servers that are closest to your customers are being used so that your customers can have a good experience. Is everybody following? Any questions?
We are following.
Okay, thank you. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. There is a way to raise your hand on Zoom. If not, you can always type out your question and one of the moderators will read out the question. So you don't have to wait. You can just write the question right away. So who are these big players in this cloud industry? We have Amazon Web Services from Amazon. And then we have Google Cloud Platform is also a huge market player. And then the third one is Microsoft Azure, at least in the West. These are the three big names that you will see. In this class, we are going to be discussing Amazon Web Services, but I can tell you from experience that a lot of the stuff you will learn in, with AWS will be easily transferable to cloud platform and also Azure. The concepts, the big concepts are all the same in terms of like how they're divided across the globe and how the services run. They have different names, but the services are primarily very similar. Now, the next thing we need to talk about is the types of services. I know we've mentioned services. I know those services are going to be delivered via the internet. So you can be anywhere in the world and you can just like you would buy something out of Amazon, you can also rent a server out of Amazon Web Services. It's just as easy as that. You just need internet connection. Now, the services are classified into three big groups. The first group is infrastructure as a service. And what that means is the orange part that you see here, like virtualized, like if you look at this one specifically, or maybe let's start with the traditional way of doing things. The traditional way of doing things without the cloud is you go and buy your own server, right? Once you buy your own server, we said you need to make sure that the networking is working well. Everything is connected as you expected. Then there's storage. The servers are up. Virtualization layer is working as you expect. You have the right operating systems running, the middleware, the runtime, the data, and the application. Your application is that Facebook, that Twitter, that application that is unique to your company. So except for that, everything else is your responsibility. You're making sure everything works. Whereas when you move to the cloud, and if you go with the infrastructure as a service, AWS takes care of networking, storage, servers, and virtualization. And from here all the way up, you need to, if you're going with the infrastructure, they are giving you the infrastructure and you can choose what kind of operating system runs on that infrastructure. You have the flexibility to choose the, how to configure your middleware, the runtime. Runtime is like, when we say runtime here, we're talking about if you have, let's say, a Node application, it needs Node.js. If you have a Python, it needs a Python runtime. If you have Java, it needs some kind of a JVM runtime. So based on your application, you also need to make sure that you have the right software stack ready to get your application up and running. So you are handling like a number of these responsibilities. Whereas if you go with the platform as a service, then from runtime all the way down to networking is taken care of by AWS. Your job is to make sure you have the right data and then running your Facebook or your Twitter. And it has the data it needs and it's running. They will take care of like installing the software that's required and making sure that there is the right amount of networking at all times and all that kind of other responsibilities. And I'll give you examples of each. Now, the last type is software as a service. And we are very familiar with this. This would be an example like Google Docs or Google Slides. You don't download any software to run that. It's not like, in your laptop, you have to download Microsoft Word to have Microsoft Word, right? You need to download, you need to have Microsoft PowerPoint in order to have PowerPoint. It doesn't just come with the computer. Whereas when you're running, Google Slides or Google Sheets or Google Docs, you don't actually, download any software. All you come up with is like, it doesn't need any application running. You don't need to double click anything. You don't need to come up with the data. You just use the software as a service, and then you start writing your article, whatever, and use it right away. So Google Sheets, Google Slides, all are under this category. When we say platform as a service, it'll be something like there's Elastic Beanstalk, and there are other AWS services that we're going to discuss, where partly like you have to come up with the application because it's your own application. It could be a mobile app, it could be a web application, but it's yours. You coded it and you're running it on top of already ready, like a prepared environment. The entire environment is ready for you, but all you need to do is you need to code, your application. And obviously we are gonna go over each of these as we progress through the class with more examples, and we will show you some demonstrations that allow you to differentiate between services. You're gonna be able to tell like which service falls under which category as we go. I'm just giving you an illustration of like the three big categories. When we say infrastructure as a service, it's as if you're like renting the server. As long as somebody else takes care of like, the internet is connected, it has all the virtualization required. Like you can have two applications running in that server and still like be able to run both at the same time. Nothing happens, like they don't collide. The rest is your responsibility. You make sure that you have all the other stuff after they make sure they have the internet connection and the storage and the server is up. I'm intentionally using English because I know we have students that primarily speak Amharic and we have others that speak Tigrigna. So I think English is like the common ground here. But if you have any specific questions or anything that you would like us to explain it in a specific language, you're most welcome to just leave a comment and we will repeat it in either language. So we'll move to the next item. So I know we got a question in last class. If we were to take this class, what are the kind of jobs we should be like researching about, and what kind of jobs can we expect? I chose those, but those aren't like the only ones. I think those would be like you're expected to know this. And if you can add a little bit more, like, you know, on like maybe some kind of software stack, we can talk specifically, like if you can just like shoot me an email or anything, or ask Ermi or Barakat, we can guide you in what else you need to take to get into one of these specific job areas. Generally, when you study for a cloud certified solutions architect, the job is more of giving guidance to like the business side, and recommending like which services to go to, comparing between like in terms of cost and in terms of performance, which services would benefit the organization. But in addition to that, there are other areas like, you know, DevOps engineers and web developers that use AWS actively. You could become a Scrum Master. That's not necessarily like coding, but that's more of like advising the team and making sure, like, you know, facilitating for your teams. There are other job titles as well. I just thought it would be maybe this would be useful for you to just look up some of these job titles and know what they are. Now, for management's sake, when we talk about AWS is divided into regions. You know, the AWS service is present, like has footprint across the globe in many different countries. But to allow them to manage it efficiently, they've divided it logical division in terms of geographical area. Now you have different regions. One of the questions was like, how many regions are within the United States? And we said there are 4, right? Okay. When we said 4, the first one is Northern Virginia. Then there is Ohio. The third one is Northern California. And then we have Oregon. If you live somewhere close to Northern Virginia, the recommendation is to rent servers that are closer to you. Because obviously data is going to be moving, you know, moving like using network, right? And packets are moving back and forth between you and your customers. So when you are deciding on which region you should like set up your infrastructure in, it could be either like what's closest to your specific company, or what's closest to majority of your customers. If your customers are somewhere in Africa, then the servers that are closer to somewhere in, you know, somewhere in the Central Africa would make more sense than setting up a server somewhere in the United States. So there are many different decisions that go into play, like when you decide where you want to set up your infrastructure. But generally speaking, for management and for making sure that, you know, you have the highest performance and with the least amount of cost, services in AWS are divided across regions. I don't know if this is new or old, but we found this picture. It says there are 16 regions across the world, 42 availability zones. So in Northern Virginia, there are 6 availability zones. When we say region, we are talking about geographical region, right? I mean, because we said Northern Virginia, Ohio, you know, Northern California, and then Oregon, right? But when we talk about availability zones, we are actually talking about the physical data centers. What is a data center? A data center is that place that holds all the servers. It's the place AWS rented out, or like has, you know, like owns, where they keep all their servers. That's called a data center. If you go inside a data center, you'll find cluster of servers. They call them racks. I mean, when you go check them out, we'll have like someone who will like explain how they, you know, how a data center works and all of that details at a later time, or maybe like if we get a chance today. But the big idea here is the physical place where the servers are kept is what we call the availability zone, which is the data center. Now, when we say availability zone, it's not necessarily just one. It could be one or more that are close to each other, like data centers, big containers, like big facilities that hold these servers. And if they are close to each other, we just call them one availability zone. So it's not necessarily just one, but for sake of simplicity, we can just say, let's think of one availability zone means one data center. There's a specific, like, they should be like one within, like, 100 kilometers of each other for them to be called, like, considered like one availability zone. But it's just, I just put it there on the slide, but it's not really important to know that. What is important to know is each of these availability zones ensure that they are highly available. So if there is some kind of tornado or hurricane and one data center is out, one availability zone, AWS ensures that they have other backup availability zones that'll be running. So the reason why they have it spread with like a specific amount of like kilometers is because they want to make sure if something goes wrong in one area, it doesn't impact the other area. So when you are designing your system, when you are designing your infrastructure, you have to keep in mind to keep a distance between your infrastructure. Like if you have a very, like you have Facebook, you don't want to just host it in one area. You want to host it in 3 different areas so that if one of the servers, like one of the data centers goes down for whatever reason, you still got 2 backup running at the same time. Your customers will just be rerouted to those 2 other that are running. So to summarize what you see here, if you were like buying your own servers and hosting them in your data center, I can almost say 9 out of 10, you just have one data center. We have one data center and you're like stacking up all your servers there. And at best you will have like 2 data centers and you're gonna rack up all your servers there. And if anything goes wrong, like maybe everything will be wiped out. So going with the cloud is a good idea because they ensure they partition your big application across different regions so they can be highly available at all times. When we talk about AWS services, now services mean different things. Generally speaking, I just said servers and you're renting servers, but there is more than servers. You could be specifically looking for a server that does analytics. You have like these big data and you want to get some kind of insights from the data. So you will run some kind of algorithm that requires a certain type of server. Servers that are, designed to just host a specific, Facebook are not necessarily designed to run big data. Those are 2 different kinds. So you can rent that, a server with the specific, with specific parts that work well with your business case. Now, when we say compute, we're talking about servers. When we talk about storage, we're talking about hard disks and SSDs, solid state drives. We want something, if the hard disk on your laptop is, reaching its like limits, you'll just go and buy an external hard disk, right? Similarly, if your server requires additional space, you can actually rent that hard disk from AWS. Similarly, if you want a database traditionally requires a server, and in that server you download some kind of database related software. There are many vendors, obviously you could choose one, and then download that software. You get the license for that, and then you have to start storing your data in that database. Now there's a downside to just having like all your data in one database. If that database goes down for whatever reason, like we said, we specifically mentioned like some natural disasters, but there could be any reason. you're doomed, because all the data you stored was in one place and now everything is gone. They will make sure that your database, no matter what kind it is, there are different kinds of databases. There are some that are easy to like have a backup for. There are some that are very difficult to have to create a backup. They will make sure they take care of that for you. The next item we have is like machine learning and AI. Obviously, they have services that are specifically designed to allow you to experiment with machine learning and artificial intelligence. You have a mobile app and you want your users to be able to access your application using their Facebook. Sometimes you see like there are some apps where you can log in using your Google account, you can use your Facebook, and you can sometimes use like whatever that's an account you created for that specific app. When you have a lot of users and you want to manage how the users are able to log in and log out from your application, if they logged in like in the last 10 seconds, do you want them to log in again? All that kind of authentication, authorization, they have services that are ready-made for you to use in AWS. Then you have other stuff like that are specific to like enterprise applications. We'll get into those like with examples in later classes. This is in general just a rundown of what AWS is and what services it provides. Some services are by region. So when you're requesting the service, you have to specify in which data center you want your application. There are other ones that are like, because the nature of the service, you don't need to specify the region or the data, the availability zone. You just have to say it's globally accessible. So you just, whatever you, it's like a user. The user is created in one time. It's not, you don't have like AutoShim running in DC and another AutoShim running in California. Once you create one account, it's one account that can access all the services globally. It's one AutoShim, and he can rent stuff from China, can rent stuff from the United States and from everywhere else. So there are certain things that are global, and there are certain things that run only within specific data centers. I know that was a mouthful and I said a lot of stuff, but if you have any questions, you can start typing them. I think that's all I had for this first part. Now that we know what AWS is, and we can go and discuss how we can create an AWS account, which is for free for 12 months. There's a free tier. Everything we talked about so far will make more sense when we have demos, and we show you, like, walk you through like how to create, how to rent, and how to configure servers. If everything seems like a lot right now, please don't be discouraged. We will go through each of these items one at a time in later classes. So at this point, we will take a 10-minute break. And after the break, what we're going to do is we are going to demonstrate how to create an Amazon Web Services account. I will ask if there is any volunteer who would like to share their screen, who doesn't have an AWS account right now. I can help walk them through how, the steps required, and everyone can, watch and do the same thing on their laptops. You can navigate to aws.com. So on the screen, on the right side, all the way on the top, it says create an AWS account. You see it, all the orange button on the top? Yeah, you can click on that.
Yes.
So here you will have to enter your email address, password, and confirm your password.
Okay. So it is gonna ask me my email address, password, right?
It's just for this account.
Okay, okay.
And the account name is some kind of nickname you want to use, or you can use your name.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, continue. The passwords are not equal, so there is a difference between the first and the second.
I got it.
So here you want to select the type of account. In your case, it's going to be personal. Do you see the first? Yeah, click on personal.
Okay.
And then, yeah, that's optional.
All right.
Yeah, you
Oh,
can.
it-
I believe it's optional, but you can
Okay.
you can set your number if you want to.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, so all my address and stuff, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And then your postal, yeah, the state, and yeah, click on that check, yeah, and then create the account. Now here you want to insert your debit card information. You don't have to show us. You can stop sharing the screen until you insert that. But they're not going to charge you anything. They're initially going to charge you $1, but that's all. And for 12 months, you will be under the free tier. So anything we're going to learn in this class is going to all fall under the free tier. So you're not going to be charged anything. But they do need a card on file. So
yeah, can you give me a few minutes because I have to get my
yeah,
card, please.
for sure. And at the same time, if you could stop sharing at this point, because we are recording this video, so you can stop sharing.
Oh, all right. Let me try to do that. I'll stop sharing. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, so yeah, so at this point, you want to choose the free tier, the basic plan. And here for my role, you can just select student. The first one.
Oh,
Student below it.
all right. Thanks.
And then I am interested in, you could just say other if you don't want to choose any. Actually, no, sorry, learning and certification is the correct one. And hit submit. Now at this point, you can click on sign in to the console, log into your account, like it's all the way in the right, top right.
Yeah, signing us.
Yeah. You can, since this is your first time logging into your account, you are the root user, the first user. You should use your email address, same address, email address you just used. Hit next. The password you just you chose. So this is the landing page. This is sort of the welcome screen. This is the AWS Management Console. Here, if you, there are a few things you need to know about this screen. If you can scroll up to the top for 1 second. If you see, it says Mimi, right?
Yes.
Now, if it's just your name, it's indicating that this is the root user. If you have other users listed under this root user, basically, let's say you are the company, the company's name is Mimi, and you have other employees under this organization. It would be like Atto at the rate, like, you know, the at the rate Mimi, or Barakat at the rate Mimi, or it could be Ermias at the rate Mimi, because we are employees under your organization, other users under your organization. But if you see just your name, that indicates that that's the root user. Okay. Now, next to it, you'll see Ohio.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the class, we talked about the 4 regions in the United States. If you click that, you can see the 4 regions before the first big line, you could, if you live anywhere close to Northern Virginia, select Northern Virginia. If you are close to Ohio, I'm not sure exactly where you're located, but you could choose Ohio. And so, but because most of the services are initially rolled out in the Northern Virginia area, I recommend that you choose Northern Virginia. Yes. Because there are some services that are not in the other regions as of right now. Now, after you've chosen the region, you can head over to the services on the top left corner. There is the word services, right? Mm-hmm. Click the, not that one, on top.
On top.
There is a services, right?
Okay.
Above it, on the black navigation, all the way in the top. Yeah, above it, there's services. Yeah, that okay. Above it. Above that, there's another service.
Here?
No, above it. There is services, and then there is resource groups, right? Can you see it?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So click on the services. Yep, that drop down. Click it. As you can see here, all the services provided by AWS are listed. If you already know the name of the service, you don't need to look around. You can just put that, you know, in the search bar. For example, the very first service we're going to look into today is IAM, which is the Identity Access Management. So you can just type IAM. IAM. No, yeah.
IAM.
AAM. Yeah. So you can click on it now. Yeah, the below. Yep, that one. So I apologize for the folks that were with us on Monday. We had gone over this, but since we have a larger class that joined after Monday's class, we'll have to go over this. Identity access management is like the HR in a company. When you are first hired into a company, the HR makes sure you have the right privileges. They make sure that they allocate like a desk and a chair where you're gonna, you know, which department you're gonna be assigned to, and all the kinds of permissions that are required for you. They make sure they, you know, if you're a developer, you have all whatever a developer is supposed to access. If you're a manager, there are certain things you have higher privileges. Everything that, you know, related to your account is managed centrally from this specific resource, which is the Identity Access Management. So this is like the HR of your account. Right here, as you can see on the left side, it says groups,
yep,
users, roles, policies, right?
Yep.
We're gonna go over each one of them. We'll start with users. Okay. Let's say this mini organization wants to add one additional user now. You can click on users, and then you could say add a user, like on the top. And you can name this user Atto, for example. And then you have a choice. What kind of access do you want to give Atto? Do you want to give him a programmatic access, basically to be allowed to access this account using like a programming language, or like using a command line interface? We were gonna see what a command line interface is. It's that black screen. It's not by clicking, but it's mostly by, you know, running commands. So if you want to allow me programmatic access, you click on that one. So you can select that. And then if you want to allow me to use this same screen that you're using right now, this is called AWS Management Console Access. This is like the UI, the user interface that everybody uses to log in using their username and password. So if you want me to have access to the screen as well, you can click on the other option, which is the one below it.
Okay, this one?
Yeah. So now in the first one, you are allowing me to access using an access key ID and a secret access key ID. These two are only required if you're going to access the account using like some software like a programming language. It could be Java, it could be Python, it could be Node.js. There are multiple, programming languages that have like integration with AWS. The other way to access this account is the same way you did, using a username and a password, and that's the second option you selected. Now, it's asking you, do you want to choose the password you want to give me, or do you want it to be auto-generated? You can keep it auto-generated, and then the first time I log in, I will change the password, my password.
Okay.
So that is the second option. If you see it says require password reset, right? What is telling you, the one below it? It's saying require password reset.
Yes.
The first time Atoshim logs in, he has the ability to change the password.
Yep.
Okay, that's what it means. So you can keep that selected. Now you can say next, which is permissions. And when you reach here, if you have multiple users and each of those users have the same type of permissions, for example, in an organization, you're going to have multiple developers. It's not just one. It's not just Atoshim. Let's say BK is also a developer. Ermias is also a developer. If you had to do this manually, each time you create a user, you're going to have to assign some kind of permissions, right? You're going to go in, assign permissions to Atoshim, do that same thing again for BK, third time for Ermias. That's time consuming. Instead, what you could do is you can create a group, and you can call the group developers. Click on and call that on the top group name. You can call it developers. And for those developers, anyone under this umbrella of developers, you want to assign some kind of permissions. The permissions are the ones listed below. Like if you want us all to have full access, you can assign administrator access, the first one. If you want us to just have access to specific AWS service, you can search for that service, on that search bar. You can type, for example, S3. There's a search, right? You can type S3, for example, S and then number 3.
Oh.
And then hit, okay. So these are the, for example, you want to give us Amazon S3 full access. You can click on that one. There's not there, but on the, you can check that specific, yeah. Above it, the full access, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you could just say create group. Okay. So now that you created the group, you can actually go back to the users, because you just created a group, but I don't believe the user was created. Click on the add user again. So you have to do this one more time, because when you created the group, it stopped creating the user midway. So if you can just put auto again, click on programmatic access, click on AWS management, select both.
All right.
Yeah, next. Now you have the developers group. So you want to assign Atto to this group, right?
Yeah.
So you can just select the group. Yes, just select on the left, on the check mark below it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you're basically creating a user, and that user is going to be part of this group. Now, just by being part of this group, Atoshim is going to inherit all the permissions that are listed in that group. So Atoshim is going to have S3 full access and administrator access, because he's part of the group. Now, yeah, click on next. Then here, this is optional. You can assign tags if you want, but you can just go to next. Not necessary.
You see,
And
yeah.
this is one last review before you create the user. You just can go over like what you've assigned. Maybe you made a mistake. You can go back and revisit it. But if you are satisfied with all the options you chose so far, you can just create the user. Click on create user. Okay, now we need to stop in this and explain something. What has happened here is you have created a user. His name is Ato. He is assigned an access key ID and a secret access key and a password. The password is for him to be able to use the Ato username and the password and log into the AWS Access Management, like this type of screen that you're looking at right now. If he wants to access the same account using like a programming language and do some kind of like logic and manipulate it, then he could use the access key ID and the secret access key. Now you want to be able to send this to Atoshim, like Atoshim works for you and you want to be able to send it to him. You can click on the send email. You don't need to do it right now, but no, not that one. You see the send email?
Yep.
Correct. So if you were to click on that, it will try to open your mail client. Maybe you have Outlook or Gmail, and using that, you'll be able to send me an email. As an employee working for you, I will just use the instructions on that email, log into my account. We're gonna forget about that. We're just gonna click on the download CSV instead and do it manually. Like click that. So anytime you create an account for a user, you need to download that CSV, because this screen you see right now will be gone. Once you click close, you won't be able to, you're not going to be able to see that again.
Oh.
So when you're creating a user, always click on the download CSV before you close that screen. Now that you already downloaded, you can go back and close. Click on that close button behind you, behind the screen.
This one, right?
Okay, now that you're done, yeah. Now, what we want to try is we want to log in using the Ato user.
Okay.
So for that, what you might want to do is like be on incognito mode. Just do, if you're on a window, I think you're on a Windows, it's a Windows machine. Okay, do I believe it's Control Shift and N. Control Shift and N.
M or N?
N as in Nancy.
Okay.
Okay, and then here, go to AWS.com. And then you can click on My Account. My Account is next to that orange button.
Yeah.
That one. Click there. Click on the, click it.
I guess it's working. I don't know. Oh yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then and then choose sign in. The first one. You can click on the first one. Yep. AWS Management Console.
Yeah.
And here, right now, you're not going to log in as the root user, because the root user is Mimi. Now you want to log in as Ato. Ato is not the root user. Ato is an IAM user. Click on that one. The first thing it's going to ask you is the account ID. The account ID is assigned to the root user, because AWS needs to know who does Ato belong to. So to get that number, yes, you click on that Excel sheet. On the Excel sheet, there's a number. Do you see it? 92009.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I write that one?
Yeah, you can type that out. Or there is a simpler way to do this. The simpler way is click on it. Click on column E.
Column E, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, go down the second cell. No, just just click there. Yep.
Yep.
And now copy from I don't know what that's called. Like, can you copy the whole thing? The contents inside the cell. If you want to, just do a. Yep. Click it, and yep. Yeah. That. Did somebody just
Okay.
highlighted it? Another way to click, just click on, was that Ermi? Can you put the highlighting again? You see the highlighting?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
can you just copy that part? Like just select that part,
Yes, I got you.
the whole thing.
All right.
Okay,
So this one.
that one. Okay, yeah, select the whole thing.
Oh, it's already came.
Okay, then open it. Open the one that just came. So,
Wait a minute. Okay.
that's not it. Yeah, can you just copy it one more time?
All right.
Did Control A?
Yeah,
Oh,
just click Control A. Control C.
Control C.
yeah. Then control.
No, then just go on the top where you put the URL. No, not right there. On the top up. You know, open a new tab. Just open a new tab. And then paste it there. Control V. And then hit enter. So what we wanted to demonstrate here was just because you use that link, that number got automatically populated for you. So you don't have to do it manually. Obviously, you could have typed it out manually. That's another option, but this is an easier way. Now, in the IAM username, you can put auto. And for the password, you can go to the Excel sheet and find the password because that's where you'll find it. Click on the Excel sheet. Yep. And the password is column B. And below it, the second row. Yeah, click on, yeah, that one. Okay, now, and then similarly, I copy that part. Just, yep, Control C. And then Control V. And then sign in. Now, when you sign in, remember we chose to require password reset. So this is, you know, when Atoshim logs in for the first time, he's presented with the screen. For the old password, just do Control V, like paste what you just copied. Click on it first. Yep.
Yeah.
And then for the new password, you just choose some password. Like it could be the same password as the one you had earlier. Doesn't matter. Okay, and then repeat that password below it. Now, what you would notice here is when you logged in, there's something different about the name. Look at the name.
Oh.
So the name is Ato at a number. Earlier, I stated that it's going to be Ato at Mimi. So that number you see is a unique identifier assigned to Mimi's account. So it's not necessarily that it's going to be Mimi, but the number is a reference for Mimi's account. So it's going to be Ato at this number, BK at this number, Ermias at this number. If you don't like this number and you want to instead make it Mimi, or like, well, if Mimi is not taken, because like if somebody else uses it, just like emails, it's globally, it's a global identifier. So if somebody else already took that name, you can't use it. But if you're going to use like something Mimi with a number, you could change it. It doesn't have to be this number. There's a way to change it. But for now, I think it satisfies. It's Ato at the account holder's ID, which is your account. You can have as many users and you can administer it all from IAM. On IAM, you can choose what kind of permissions you want to assign to Atoshim, what kind of permissions you want to assign to Ermias, so on and so forth. If you go back to your account, the root account, Mimi.
Yes, okay. The group account.
You can close this or like minimize the screen and go back to the other one. This is the Mimi account.
Okay, so
So now you can try to create another user.
Another user. So add user, right? Should I do this?
Yes, and try to create you can put BK. And okay, and then you could just
Right.
yeah, you can just give him programmatic access. You don't have to do AWS console, you know. Maybe for the sake of this demonstration, you could just give him the first one and you don't have to do the second one. Yeah, he only has programmatic access. Now you can say next. And earlier, what we showed was you put Atoshim as part of the developers group. And by, you know, inherently, just by being part of that group, Atoshim has S3 full access and the administrator access, right?
Yes.
Okay. Instead, let's say you don't have this guy BK is not part of this group, but what you want to do is you want to copy permissions from Atoshim, and then you want to add something else on top of that.
Yeah.
So what you could do is you can click on copy permissions from existing user, which is the second option on the top.
This one?
Yes. What this is saying is if you have an existing user, you want to use the same permissions that that existing user has,
Yes.
and assign it to BK, your new user. So now you could just select Atto, select, and then click on, you know, next in the tags, and you could do next, which is review. You know, that's optional. You can just, and now what you see is, notice what happened. You did not put BK as part of the group.
Yeah, but
Because Atto is part of the group, by copying the permissions that were given to Atoshim, he's now also part of that group. So if you do create user,
yes.
and you could also download the CSV similarly. I'll click on download CSV. It's because the other one is open. Can you close the other Excel sheet first?
We don't need to copy or something?
No, you can close this one. Yeah,
Oh.
you can keep this closed.
I don't need to save it?
No, it's already saved in your desktop. So just close and don't save it. Don't save.
All right.
Now click on download again and try to open this. Notice something. On column B, he has no password
Okay.
because you did not give him AWS console management access. You only gave him programmatic access. And for programmatic access, we only need an access key ID and a secret access key, correct? For Atto, you gave him both options. Obviously, this is something you could change at a later time. You can go back and, you know, change BK's account and you can give him access management and then he will have a password. But for now, because you did not select that option, he doesn't have the password. He only has programmatic access. As far as the account goes, if you look at the number 920096013378, that's the same number that Atto got because it's related to Mimi, the account holder. Okay, now, if you can minimize the screen.
Yes.
And you can close this, hit the close. So you have two users under the same group, which is a developers group. Now we might want to check the roles. What is a role? There's if you see under the users on the left panel,
Yes.
on the left side. Yeah, yes, correct.
Yes.
So we can go over like what a role is. If you have an application, like say you have a web application and you have a database. When a user wants to log into the account, they put their username and password. That username and password, the first time you log in, will be saved somewhere in some database. Somewhere in the database. It will say, okay, this is Luam and this is her password. Now, the next time you log in, there should be some kind of a lookup. When you say, okay, this is Luam, and you put the password, you click sign in, that web application needs to look up your account somewhere in some database. And if your name exists in the database, then it knows, okay, this is Luam. She's not lying. She has the password. So it matches. So I'll let her log in. If it can't find that, then it will not allow you to log in. Correct? Okay. Now, that web application, to be able to talk to the database, it needs permission.
Yes.
It wouldn't make sense for any application like Twitter to go check Facebook's database,
Yes.
or for Twitter to check some other company's database. So it has to be some user, some web application that has permission to go check in some database. If it's a user, if it's a person, you would give them a username and a password. If it's two applications, like a database and a web application, the web application needs a role. The role is the permission it gets to access the database. Because it's not a person, it's a machine, right? So it needs a role. So when we say create a role, we create a role by clicking create role. Then we choose, okay, what type of application are we using? Who do we want to give the access to? You can, let's say in this case, okay, let's say you have an EC2. Like look, like the first one, you see common use cases, there is EC2, yeah, click on that one. Now at this point, you can say next permission. And you can choose what kind of permission do you want to give this EC2. Okay, you have this EC2, it's some kind of server, web application, whatever, and it needs to talk to a database, we said, right? So in this, I'll help you with this. In the search, you can say RDS. RDS is some type of, database. So let's just say RDS.
This one?
Yes, and then put enter, okay. And then you want to say, yes, Amazon RDS data full access. So click on, select it. And then you could say next, the tags.
Yes.
You don't need to give it tags for now. Just, continue. And in the role name on the top, you can say EC2.
EC2 like this?
Yeah, put a 2. Access, space access, RDS. It doesn't matter actually, even if you don't put the space here, RDS. Okay, and then you could say, obviously in the description, you could write a description, but for now, we don't really care about that. This is only saying that allows EC2 instances, like EC2, to access some other service. That other service is the RDS, right? So we don't need to write it. I think the name is descriptive enough. Yeah, you can say create role. Now you just created a role, but you don't have the service yet, right?
Yes.
When you create your service, there will be a point where you will be asked, do you want to attach a role to that, EC2? At later classes, we will check. We'll get to a point where we will be creating EC2, like renting a server. Then we'll have an option to choose if we want to attach a role, attach permissions for that EC2. We're not gonna go into that today, but once we get there, we will use this and attach it to that EC2. And that EC2, by having this permission, will be able to check whatever data it wants in the database. So we are giving that EC2 permission to go check in the database by this role. Okay, the next item we have under the roles is policies. If you can click on policies. So we have been seeing this, and I think we run into this like maybe twice. And we selected at the first time administrator access, then we chose like S3 full access, and like a minute ago we also chose RDS access, right? So what these are called policies. A policy is like a file that has one or more permissions. It's basically just permissions. You have permissions. If you group them into one, you can have multiple permissions, and you can group them into one policy. then you could say that policy represents permission A, B, C, D, E. You can also create your own policy. Basically, you can customize, like from these, you can select what you want and give it your own name. You could just call it like Luam's policy. And then basically Luam's policy is just a combination of many of these different service permissions. And each time you want to attach it to a role or attach it to a new hire, someone who joined your organization, you don't need to like select from the pre-configured policies. Instead, you can use Luam's policy instead, which has all the things that you want. I hope that's clear.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I believe that concludes what we need to know about creating an account and also being able to create users and being able to attach permissions to the users. We've also learned today that there are 4 regions in AWS in the United States, and then the region that we are using. I am in the Washington DC area, so I tend to use Northern Virginia. Select Northern Virginia, and Northern Virginia has 6 availability zones at the moment. It might expand in the future. And we also, I think, recommended that everyone buys the Udemy course. And I will give you guys a link. I'll send you a link on the WhatsApp group for both, for the 2 courses that we recommend. You don't have to buy both, just buy one of them, but you could choose either one. Both are great courses. That concludes what I have for today. If BK or Ermias want to add anything, you can go ahead. Or if anyone has questions, we can address them now. Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
You can stop sharing if you want now.
All right, okay.
Have anything to say? Anything? As Ato said, I mean, we covered a lot of topics today as the beginning, and we really want to thank you guys for joining. And at the same time, we expect, we try to come as prepared as much as we can, and we want you guys to do the same thing. This material that we are asking you to buy, or we will probably also make it available online. The class that we asked you to buy is for you guys. That's your guide, and we're going to assign, okay, one chapter 2, whichever specific video that we want you to watch, and we really encourage for you guys to actually do the work ahead of time. That way, when you come to class, it wouldn't be confusing. I don't mind. I personally don't mind any question. I'm sure Dr. Emily feels the same way, but just like we are spending enough time to teach this class, we want you guys to as well. So I'm not trying to scare anyone off, but we just want to say thank you for coming, and I'm happy that you guys all joined us today, and hopefully we'll see you through. That's all I have to say. After, if you want to finish up.
Yeah, we will be sharing a link to this video where it's recorded, and we will be sharing the link shortly after the class once we have the video. If you have any questions, if any questions come to mind after the class ends, you can always shoot us a text or email. Hopefully we are organizing a Google Classroom. We've in our previous batch, we had a Google Classroom that had notes we aggregated from different resources that can help you ace the exam. But we will first try to shuffle things around and hopefully have useful material there. We will let you know when that's ready, but at the moment just continue with just buying the Udemy course and watching the videos, and if any questions come to mind, just post them on the WhatsApp group, and either I or Ermias or BK or anyone in the class is welcome to answer those questions if you know them.
And to add one more thing on the Google Classroom, I'm working on it and will be ready hopefully by next class, which is Tuesday. And we'll have that's one of the reasons I ask everyone to send me their email, full name, and phone number. That way I can add you to the class. And as far as materials, yeah, whatever material that we think is relevant, we can probably migrate it to this class as well. And you can have lots of things that you can actually use. As far as the Udemy class, Ato, did you show, like, is this still under that around $10, $11 price?
Correct, yeah. So I can share my screen and show you
Which one it is, yeah.
which courses I'm talking about. If you can give me a moment, I will share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're able to see my screen, this is the landing page of the Udemy, udemy.com. When you go to Udemy account, .com, create an account, you can use your email address. Once you're logged in, you can search for these two courses. The first one is the Ultimate AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate 2020 by Stefan. That's the name of the instructor. The other course is by Ryan Kronenberg. It's AWS Certified Solutions Architect. It's by a group called A Cloud Guru. You'll see this A Cloud Guru. They have like a couple of videos, but the one like different courses, but the one you want to go for is the Certified Solutions Architect Associate. I will send you links that'll take you directly to these courses on the WhatsApp right after the class. So you don't have to search for it. Or you can just click on that link, and that link is gonna, if you don't have an account, it's gonna ask you to create an account. Once you create an account, you can go back and click on the link. It'll take you to both courses, and you're welcome to choose either one. They're both great courses, both cover all the contents required for the exam. So you're not gonna go wrong with either one. And that's all I have for today.
Hey, Atoshim, this is Nat. Can you hear me?
Hey, Nat.
Hey, thank you so much for putting this together. This is awesome. I also want to mention that some companies actually have Udemy as a training platform for their employees. So just check internally to see if you can get this class for free.
Thank you, Nat. Yeah, that's a good tip. Any questions? I guess we're gonna end the class like 10 minutes before 8:30. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to text us, like even privately on WhatsApp. If you need help, with the Udemy course, buying the courses. Another thing I wanted to mention is when you first log into Udemy, the course might be listed for like $100 or something like that. I don't know why Udemy does that, but that's not the actual price. When you are about to check out, the price is going to change. It's going to be like $12.99, I believe, is the price. That's today's price. It's $12.99. Sometimes they have sales for like 90% sale, 90% off. So it can go cheaper, maybe $10.99, sometimes $12.99. But it's definitely not in the hundreds range. So if you're having difficulty like getting it down to that price, contact us. I'll try to search for coupons. Like you can go on, while I am at it, I will try to share my screen. What worked for me sometimes was I would just do Udemy coupons to 2020. And then I find something like this. It says up to 95% off. So I would just click on this site. I come here, I find this. I'll just click on get offer. It redirects you, like it'll redirect you to Udemy. It opened Udemy and now reflects the new prices, which are like $12.99 and $12.99, like much cheaper than what it was earlier. So try that if that works for you. If it doesn't work, let us know and we'll try our best to help. Okay, that concludes our class today.
One more thing, Ato.
Go ahead.
As far as the email, the full name and the phone number, you can send it to my email account that I posted on the chat. or the Viber group, you can send me, not the Viber, the WhatsApp group, you can just send it to me. That way I can probably have it on. I see a lot of people are just posting it on this chat, but I think that would be useful if you do either email me or send it to the WhatsApp group. Thank you.
Altrim, 1 second. I forgot to ask. You said the recording will be sent by email?
So I will send a link to the recording, yeah, on WhatsApp.
Thank you, man.
WhatsApp group, yeah.
Yeah, as for the recordings, I mean, until we get the Google Classroom, today's class might be on WhatsApp, but for the rest of it, we're probably gonna have something really organized. You don't have to
look around to find it, yeah. Okay, any other questions before I end the meeting? Okay, I guess that ends it. I guess we will reconvene again on Tuesday. Have a nice weekend, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. The same to you too. Really appreciate this opportunity. My name is Luam. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mm.